Welcome back. I am here with Direwolves mid laner Triple. Congratulations on the win, but not many people expected Direwolves to be able to pick up the win today with the suspension of SuperMassive. So how is the team approaching today?
Obviously with like all the fundamentals out the window, you know, with Shern gone, like not saying Udi's bad, but like, yeah, everyone just focused on like their individual plays. So we just said just mechanics max and let's just style on these kids individually. And I think in the end, we just out-team fought them.
Now, it seemed like Udi was kind of thrown into the mix, but we saw him secure Baron with that dying breath. So what did you really think of his performance today?
Udi performed, I mean, for what was expected of him, definitely above expectations. Yeah, and that Baron steal at the end, well, secure. It's just, he's just doing his job, you know, and I'm proud of him.
And you and SuperMassive have a great relationship both in and outside of the game. So for you personally, what was it like adapting to playing without your jungler?
I'm not quite sure. I mean, it's just a whole different way of playing. Just because Shern's playstyle is a bit different to Udi's, although Udi's hung around the, you know, Esports High Performance Center a lot. He's actually, you know, one of the boys, and Shern's coached him a lot. So they do have their similarities.
So your last game of the day is going to be a tough one. It's against EDG. So what are your expectations going into that match?
Just the same as before, honestly. Yeah, just mechanics and just try to style on them, maybe. I don't know.
Style on EDG. Well, I wish you the best of luck in that game. And for more League, let's hear from the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Abali. A very happy Direwolves to see moving on so far in the play-in stage. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rivington Bism III, casting alongside my co-host for our newest global travel doc all over and down under. It's going to be amazing. What's up with the down under? What are we going to expect today from the games?
Well, we just got a victory. I mean, that's the first thing off the bat. Triple played out of his mind, I think, on that Azir. Not something we've seen much lately. And he really is the catalyst for this team to do well.
Well, we got more games. We're gearing up for Game 4, where SuperMassive are facing off against the representatives from the SEA Ascension Gaming. So let's hit those rosters. In the top lane, you're going to see Rockky. Moving around in the jungle is Lloyd. Mid lane, you may remember as G4. Bot lane, Niksar. Support, Rich. And coach, Chainerin.
Yeah, and this is a lineup that we've seen a lot of in recent time, but not necessarily in this format.
Exactly.
Lloyd was their previous AD carry, now moving into the jungle. That was after a very disappointing Rift Rivals where Ascension was only able to pick up one game. However, the game plan hasn't really shifted. It's all about Rockky, it's all about those split pushes and being able to generate pressure on the top side of the map.
But who are they now? What is this team? You really have to wonder. And Ascension Gaming as well, making their way onto the stage, have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we already saw SuperMassive once today, and they honestly looked pretty damn good, Riv. Yeah. They were able to play such a controlled style. Their bottom lane just goes from strength to strength. Great laners, great team fighters, and I think the composition they built around that really does speak volume to how well drilled this lineup is. And I think that Ascension, they need to play a little bit more loose. They need to play a bit faster. That's what we're used to seeing from SEA, you know, that chaos-style League of Legends. And if they are able to do that, maybe they can shake up the Turkish lineup.
They really absolutely could. Seeing what SuperMassive has in the bot lane is something they will have to focus on. That seems like to be the rock that cannot be shook for this lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we're going to see the new AD carry for the first time, previously of Gambit Niksar. And this is a guy that is a low econ AD carry. There's not many of them going around Worlds at the moment. I keep saying it. Lots of resource-intensive AD carries. Uzi-style League of Legends seems to be the flavor of the month. So I expect Rich to get out of that lane, leave Niksar to just soak up as much golden experience as he can, play towards G4, play towards Lloyd.
We're almost about to be in Champion Select. Not too many kind of shared champion pools between these teams, so we should see a lot of those comfort picks coming through, and we should get a nice, I'd say, bloody game out of these teams because I expect to see quite a bit of fighting.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm really looking forward to G4 versus GBM. GBM is not one to shy away from a competition.
And what was the Zillion, too? You get a few of those, but we remember Zillion or GBM to go hard.
Yeah, absolutely, and I want to see him on something like the Vladimir, something like the Rise, and really be stepping up in this mid lane because, as I mentioned, G4, you know he's famous for the Aurelia. The moment against FLICKR where he was locking in the Aurelia, FLICKR all left him at that stage, but this is a guy that certainly doesn't have confidence issues, to say the least.
I think a lot of people will remember that mid lane Olaf versus Aurelia. It's kind of the pinnacle of Worlds, seeing players say, no, I can outplay that pick, and seeing something new come out. I can't wait. We're only in the play-in stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we've just seen a lot of it today. You know, EDG throwing the gauntlet first up, playing such a quick game. Then SuperMassive saying, no, we can slow this pace down, and we were able to take it to you. Interested to see what the Clash of style is here.
All right, Ascension Gaming. Can they get a victory here? Can they find a win? First time at Worlds. What kind of results can they produce? Picks and bans have already started here against Bahçeşehir SuperMassive. And we're almost finished out as the jungle gets a bit of focus, as well as those assassins we've been seeing a lot on the ban list.
Yeah, and that's really interesting, right? Because you would think Akali, strongest assassin on the current patch, that would be something that G4 could be interested in picking up. However, already SuperMassive has shown their response to that, so maybe a pivot coming in here at the last moment.
There's the Urgot getting taken out. A lot of versatility to the top lane for those laners coming into the World's play. Gragas will be locked in for Lloyd in the jungle to start things off for Ascension Gaming.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, something that we have seen flex a little bit, but not necessarily in Rocky's wheelhouse, as we said. He's a little bit more aggressive. So I expect that one to go towards Lloyd. Doesn't really give much away in the current meta if you just do blind a jungler. However, there are some aggressive picks like the Olaf, like the Xin Zhao that we're seeing rise to popularity, and maybe Stomaged goes towards that.
A lot of the Xin Zhao, we've been wondering kind of what will the pick be that doesn't get banned much but gets picked a lot.
Yep.
He's definitely been on the list. Sion for some safe play in that top lane for fabFabulous. As one more pick here for Bahçeşehir SuperMassive before they hand over the picks back to Ascension.
And Sion just interests me stylistically, because if there was going to be one tank that we saw a lot of, it would be the Ornn pickup for me, just because of the deadliness of that engage and the ability to couple it with something like Tahm Kench that we've seen used to great effect. However, Sion, a little bit more wave clear, a little bit more lane control, and something that fabFabulous maybe not necessarily excelling on, but should be absolutely fine for him to take in this matchup.
Jungler for jungler, so do we get a top? Oh, now I think we do actually have our top, as Lloyd may be on a Gragas. We'll have to see how this one plays out, but that looks like what it could fall to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we already said that Lloyd just followed the Graves around Summoner's Rift.
Yeah.
Back in, 2014 when Graves was a big AD carry, it was his favorite pickup. Now Graves obviously a jungler, so he takes that one into the jungle. Maybe G4 has to play a little bit of support here as well now, because we've got 2 AD carries.
Yeah, I mean, Lloyd himself used to be the marksman of the team, so why not put another marksman in his hands? AD carry there. One for GBM now, possibly. They could mix things up. But look, before that support, actually, so they do. They will not match this first phase of picks back and forth, unless that's a support Gragas.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, right now, Zeitnot is going to take a lot of attention, I think, because they've already locked in the Kai'Sa. I think the Varus is going to be hit immediately. We already saw his skill on that. Potentially, they take away the Ashe as well. Try and get the long-range lane bully and get Niksar a little bit more of a successful lane.
Absolutely. Against Zeitnot, this guy has had a CS lead in 28 out of his 32 games at 15 in his regular season. He did it to Hjarnan as well with a huge CS lead at 15 and 20, which was eventually caught up, but you're right. It has to be a focus on Zeitnot, or they have to get Niksar or something that can be protected. He's got that Kai'Sa. Can they protect it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big question for me, is how do they keep this safe? Because you can see already that they're not focusing out Zeitnot's champion pool. If this isn't a Varus ban, they can take an aggressive lane with a lot of CC. And we already said that Rich probably wants to roam in this matchup.
Absolutely.
We've already seen Zeitnot and SnowFlower throw the gauntlet against Hjarnan and Wadid. They matched them top side of the map. They took the turret back. And I think that is a respect ban that needed to come through.
For sure. And correction for myself, that was 27 out of 35 games that he was in the lead at 15.
Ooh.
I was looking at something else as we get the Lucian in for Zeitnot, something very lane dominant. And with the Braum, Taster's Choice lock in there.
Yeah, there's kind of 2 ways that you win the laning phase, right? You outrange, you poke, you play it slow, or you just lock in the brawl-heavy Lucian Braum. And they really are just like looking to play from strength to strength right now. Such a potent mid-game comp put together.
Absolutely scary from SuperMassive. We already saw him play quite quick in their first game, which is a victory. And now we will see the Cho'Gath to top side. We now definitely start to see this composition fill out a little bit more. Actually, I say top side. Could be a mid-Gath.
Yeah,
That's
potentially, or a support. Gragas?
We don't even know yet.
On?
Roll the dice. LeBlanc is on the board. That's a mid lane. It's Cho'Gath top, possibly that Gragas in the bot. So I say passively. I'm so with conviction here.
Yeah.
It could be. And now we will get the final pick for SuperMassive. Hands are in the air from both of us. This is going to be an awesome game. We expected the champion pools to be quite a mix-up, and we're getting it.
Yeah, and I mean, that is just such a bold call to lock in your support Gragas. as the first pickup, you know, being able to have that flexibility in the draft. I don't really, like, there is such heavy skirmish potential, and it's going to come out. And we already mentioned the gauntlet that GBM's willing to throw. That is certainly one.
Interesting. Kind of definitely looking at early, have a little bit of wave clear for SuperMassive, but if they hopefully don't lose control of the lanes, they could start getting pushed in on this. We see Rockky, we talk about that split push, will he just be a menace on Cho'Gath on the side until and if his team needs him? Yeah,
and I think this is going to be the 17th unique pickup for GBM in the summer split. He just kind of plays a little bit of everything. Most played champion, of course, is going to be the Vladimir. He plays a lot of Xerath as well. But after that, it kind of falls away just into like every single champion in the game. And not going to be anything new here for GBM, taking a unique pick into this one.
And it's what we kind of wanted, right? We said, yeah, the Zillion's there. It's his pick. They were able to come out with the win, but it's not that aggression we see from him. GBM taking control of the game. It's that man. It's ganked by Mom. And you're probably going to get ganked by this Kassadin at some point in the game.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a little bit of a different feel for an assassin, right? Because Kassadin does need to get towards that 2-3 item mark. Probably needs the roller. Probably needs itself a Lich Bane. Maybe even the Zhonya's, depending on the state of the game. But there's one thing for certain. If it does get those items behind, if it does get rolling, unrivaled in the split push, a very good team fighter as well, and GBM will just be able to do everything on this pick.
I am excited. Should be explosive across the board. We're seeing a few teams here have their first chance at Worlds. SuperMassive faring very well in their first game and finding a victory. Can Ascension get some ground under them here in their first game at Worlds? It is a daunting task. The nerves are at max. We've heard it from every player. And we even heard it from Blabber, a rookie coming in, which a lot of these teams, which are their first time here, also have those rookies.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the stakes are even higher because already G2 have dropped a game. So if you can get that first game, if you can even out this group, means that it really will be anyone's game and can cement yourself as that opportunity to go through as a first seed, because we've already mentioned it. The best of 5 is going to be tough for the second seeds coming in to the play-in stages. So this is really do or die time almost already for Ascension to be able to make that mark.
All right, we are on to the Rift here for Game 4. Day 2 of play-ins. We will see as the team set up a line of scrimmage here. Our eyes definitely focused on this mid lane. Electrocute G4 on that LeBlanc. We got a fleet on footwork on GBM for his Kassadin.
Yeah, a little bit more sustain in the lane, trying to keep himself topped off. And that makes a lot of sense. This is going to be a tough laning phase. Corrupting pot for auto-attack harass is just going to be persistent. There's not going to be many windows for GBM to trade back. He's gone with a shield as well, so teleport going to be important in this lane to keep himself topped up on that mana. Because I would have expected to see, you know, maybe go for the corrupting pot, time what Tonic stop and start and try and sustain through this lane.
He doesn't want to take the few hits and expect Lloyd's damage to come through, maybe. GBM to play it safe here. So he did take an auto there from G4 as they head to lane. As I said, one we'll be focusing on. We'll keep an eye on the CS for Zeitnot to Niksar to make sure that is something that plays in favor of Ascension. They have to be able to take that as well. Niksar coming over, as we said, a former member of Gamut Gaming, a team also here at Worlds, has been able to do good things, add more versatility for the team than Lloyd did, but they still wanted Lloyd's veteran experience in the jungle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we've seen Lloyd since really the Bangkok Titans, the core that became Ascension, came onto the scene in 2014. They were able to make their run through IWCQ then and have a pretty successful tournament. So we'll see whether they're able to replicate that now at the play-in stage. And Lloyd is just one of those players that adds some aggression at the right moments of games, is willing to make that play that can win you the match.
And it's interesting too, because Lloyd's numbers were slightly better than Niksar's, but still, he kind of wanted that versatility that opens up the rest of the map from Niksar's champion pool.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for me was watching them at Rift Rivals, they didn't look like they have all that much direction. And I think that having the veterancy of G4 and Lloyd be that swing point of the mid-jungle duo just allows you to do that, especially with the fact that Cav is no longer with the team. So I think that, you know, it just adds some versatility to an otherwise maybe stagnant team at times.
Oops damage there for G4. But yeah, they definitely have a bit of that versatility as well. With the Gragas, they say this is a kill bot lane, and we will do that to the Lucian Braum. Zeitnot taking damage, heal comes out from him, and he'll stay safe. Great job by SnowFlower to be the body block on the way in, but Stomaged is now ready for the undertow, and he's just there for a tit for tat. Heads back out first gank from Lloyd.
Yeah, and that is so many summoner spells burnt. You can already see 3 from both of the bottom lanes. Just the heal remaining with the Ignite on SnowFlower. But Lloyd also burned his. He's just willing to get in there very quickly, and that means that the return gank, especially if it is from Stomaged, can have some big impact down here.
So now they have an idea, privy to that jungle knowledge. Again, proccing that electrocute as much as possible outside of that turret range for these further engages. And a quick call picked up by Zeitnot on that push back. So he's going to be go ahead and farming in lane, looking for a little of that extra gold as he builds up.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, it's just something that Lucian wants to continually be auto-attacking in the wave, so it will keep him reasonably topped up. I'm actually so surprised with how well GBM is doing in this lane. You can already see G4, no corrupting pot charges, whereas GBM's kind of just healthy enough to stick around here. Certainly knows something about the matchup. I do not. Going with that Doran shield start seems to be working.
And it feels like it'd be a little bit obviously in favor of G4 there. You're going to get pushed in, the wave will bounce, but he's been doing a great job at keeping that wave just off the turret, and G4 can't get a good bounce. See it push back now, and he will get it under his turret, but he's low on that health.
And I mean, that just means that G4 are going to have to look for a shop. GBM has the teleport to get back to wave if he wants to. That additional sustain coming in of the fleet footwork, as you can see proc there, just seems to be helping him out so much. And Kassadin matchups are kind of measured by how many points you have to put in Q before you can start maxing the E. And right now, this seems to be a pretty good matchup, so wouldn't be surprised to see GBM start putting some points into that ability and get mobile around the map.
Yep, get a little mana refund, good to go. Keep himself topped off, so he'll know the back is there, kind of holding this. He'll compile the wave. Maybe they'll get some pressure on G4 as this comes out. And he'll actually back as well. He says, this is fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
I mean,
leave this
guarantees the freeze in the mid lane. That's a very frustrating place for G4 to have to wave. Stomaged going to look for his next back as well. So the map really right now favoring SuperMassive. We mentioned, you know, the summoner spells used in the bottom lane, but the fact that the Ignite is still there for SnowFlower leads me to think that there still might be some fireworks around the corner. There's no real answer right now on the map for Ascension.
It's hard. They don't have too much room to gank in the bot lane with where they're keeping it so far. A little more room, and they'll be able to chase Niksar and Rich forever and get that kill finally. Looking at CS across the board, quite even, as there's been a little back and forth in each lane, but everybody's been able to back accordingly and get a first item. That's going to be Sork Boots for G4. He says, I want to make it sting right away to GBM there and get my movement around the map to make it count.
Yeah, maybe not happy with how the lane's going. A little bit strange from Lloyd to actually auto-attack that ward coming through. Now they certainly know that he's in that bottom lane, and it looked like Rich wanted the gank coming in. And I think that SuperMassive's comp just has a little bit more of the punch in the mid game, given the fact that they've got the Lucian Braum, and that's a flash coming out of fabFabulous. Whereas I would expect the Ascension lineup with the likes of the Kai'Sa, with the likes of the Graves, to scale a little bit better into this game. They will have a harder job of maybe starting up the team fights, but if they do get those picks, there is an opportunity to blow people up.
So I was the interesting lane of Gragas and Kai'Sa.
Hold that
Hold the wall, holding. No Ragnarok coming through. Level 5 Stomaged. Chain goes out as they make sure he's tunneled into the choke point. Beautifully done. End of the line kill picked up by Lloyd. And now it's going to be Ascension inside SuperMassive jungle. But SuperMassive doesn't want any of this fight. And they're going to start backing off. Unbreakable used by SnowFlower. This could be the catch here. Body slam into him. They're picking up more on the side of Ascension. And that one's over to G4 as they're able to just say, who wants this?
And that's exactly what we said, Riv. Bring the chaos. They chase Stomaged into his jungle. It looks like they're on the wrong side of Summoner's Rift, but they're able to clean up the kills. And that is the early game start that Ascension needed.
Incredible. The boots pay off right away. That's going to feel good for G4 as he was out of lane, but he'll be able to pick up the CS as well. And Stomaged now, jungle's a bit clear, does have actually red up, as they can see on a pink ward. It'll keep them privy to where he is. But they're trying to get it back now. They may force themselves as we see how this Ace of Predator replay came to be.
Yeah, and this is just G4's willingness to leave the wave. You can see that GBM wanted to go back and push that in. He didn't want the freeze against him because he had been laning so well. Good early rotation coming out of Niksar and Rich as well. I mean, we mentioned the wave positioning. Their wave is also on their turret. They're just sacking creeps at this stage to go hunt kills. Something that the Southeast Asian region has kind of always done. And once again, it just works. Like, you don't know why sometimes, but just group up, run into their jungle, and grab some kills.
It's the no, don't do that. Oh, okay. Okay, and they make it work. It just feels comfortable for him to be kind of in that chaotic position, always pushing the team to their limits because it's where they feel comfortable.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're going to see, right? This is a team that has 20 kills per game. They're a very bloody team. And when we have a look at those kills, there's only 1.8 people involved in them. So this isn't like a team fight heavy team. This is like get 1 or 2 members to the fight, start looking for the solo out plays, look for those scrappy 3-on-3, 2-on-2 skirmishes. And I think that if SuperMassive ever get 5 members on the same screen, they will be able to use that skill that we saw against G2. But if it ever gets that down and dirty style, that's just Ascension's wheelhouse.
It is. If you're like you're saying on SuperMassive side, they're so slippery. Ragnarok, Kassadin flying around. Lucian's hard to catch. But everything's on Ascension's terms so far. Coming up on 9 minutes, even kind of tempting damage onto the blue buff. Stomaged, level 7, still can't do much. The lane is even, and that's Niksar's and Rich to kind of have aggression on. So G4 plays the nuisance game so far, and bot lane actually gets engaged. Remember, SnowFlower gets his flash up and has to use it immediately as he actually gets cast backwards at the same time.
Yeah, and that was really well timed by Rich because you could see the door was just expiring. It would have knocked him backwards, but not going to be the case. Has to burn the summoner spell. And that's again just G4 leaving the mid lane, willing to be mobile on the assassin and exert some pressure, denies a blue buff from GBM, but also chunks out Stomaged and keeps him aware of the positioning of the LeBlanc.
And that mid lane, something we did want to focus on. It's 72 to 83. GBM has not been leaving, but G4 has been able to pick up results around the map. Still feels good for a Kassadin to not have too much trouble in the early game, though.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I mean, if he's able to build towards that ticking time bomb status of the couple of items, still certainly a game that GBM can take over. And I think that's the reason why that G4 feels so pressured to make these plays. But the good thing so far is that they are working. He's able to get in their face. And I think that that's the trick. Keep the tempo high. Make sure that you're looking for your play. Do not play at SuperMassive's tempo.
It's not, you can't say, hey, we've done enough. Now we can kind of relax.
Because that's kind of what happened with G2, right? They kind of looked like they had the first turret. They thought, you know, now we're in a position where our Tristana will be able to scale up. You know, we're going to be the team fight monsters. And SuperMassive were kind of like, we've got a zillion. We're happy for this game to go the journey. We will play at your pace. And I think that if G2 had their time again, they would have been like, we needed to get Perks into a side lane. We needed to start trying to exploit that matchup. And, you know, got to really look to see whether Ascension can do that in this game.
And it's true. In their region, they were a team win fast, or kind of early leads, Baron, win fast, right? You're now kind of against other teams who had the same results, and you don't know how they play. So that early lead may get very much stalled out, as we're seeing here. Just about 1,000 gold lead coming up on the scoreboard for Ascension as they continue to farm it out, and no lanes really even look like they're ready to break yet. There's been a lot of that action bot lane, but still everything is standing pretty tall with healthy turrets.
Yeah, I think the one lane that you would look to be tipping over the edge right now for SuperMassive is once again just the bottom lane. You can see already 30 CS up. There's a big wave here to be collected, but that is a cull that is about to be cashed in for Zeitnot. This was never a lane that was going to have heavy turret pressure, but once he does get that Blade of the Ruined King and boots, he's going to be at the power spike at this stage of the game, where really, if you are going to be the Kai'Sa, you're waiting a little bit longer for your item build to ramp up.
Definitely a big sting from Lucian before Kai'Sa hits that. Quick clears. Nicely done. He'll actually just be up in farm over that. Man, it's impressive to watch people farm. Like, if different champions, you got to pull something out next, and you still have to have that top mechanical farm rate every time.
It's actually really relaxing. I love watching people last hit. Like, to clear a wave is satisfying, but to watch them last hit is actually just really relaxing. It's kind of therapeutic in how it happens.
But it can also be gut-wrenching.
Yeah, when they miss cannon crit. There's nothing worse.
Especially when you're hitting S and you're waiting. It looks like Lloyd is waiting to see what's going on around Dragon. Cloud Drake will be a little perturbed by this. Ooh, flash in. They're going to get big damage. Oh, SnowFlower's unbreakable the wrong way as he's popped back. And they have been on him time and time again. His flash actually just came back up. They just have his number.
Yeah, they certainly do. And this is one of those things that I said, get Rich out of the laning phase. When he's roaming, when he's playmaking, you know, this is kind of a double jungle setup that we have right now between Lloyd and Rich. And time and time again, SnowFlower's trying to rotate to the play, but he's just getting caught out there a little bit too far ahead of his team. And GBM just does not look like he wants to be fighting at this stage of the game. Yeah. G4's punishing him for that.
definitely not the time here where GBM wants to keep having himself pressured down to the bot side, pulled away from his lane, and it's going to start making a disparity in the CS now that's not in his favor. Teleport's there, but he'd probably rather use that to get to these fights that are in that bot lane. He can't chase G4 to.
And now you have one more pack if you're GBM before you lose that turret. And if that goes over to the LeBlanc as well, that's going to be such a lead. 2-0 on 1, equal on CS. But once again, an earlier spiking carry.
Yeah.
So whilst they have some good late game insurance out of Lloyd, out of Niksar, it's not like this team comes on too late either. GBM goes forward.
Wants to fight himself, has the 1v1. Stomaged kind of give him the false sense of security. Are they under the turret? Stomaged not very tanky at this point, and they really can't heat that turret up.
And once again, that's a flash use from GBM. A little bit of miscommunication. It looked like Stomaged wanted to get in there, wanted to continue that fight, but GBM had pieced out before it even really went down, and that's just another small advantage that Ascension is going to be able to play around in this mid lane.
What's next? What's Rockky and fabFabulous doing on their vacation island up top with Grasp? These guys haven't even really had too much trouble sharing just about the same CS. I think we haven't seen fabFabulous do an ultimate. That was the other game from today, but soon. I think we'll see something soon.
I think something's going to have to give for SuperMassive because this isn't a game now that you can play out because mid lane turret's going to be broken pretty naturally.
Yeah,
that's going to open up things like Rift Herald. That's going to open up the skirmish capability of the LeBlanc, of the Grave. So I think that they're going to have to look to get fabFabulous out behind. Rich just continually looking aggressive in this play.
Ooh, Ignite down, more hits to GBM, ticking down, and GBM is down. G4, can they pull the kill back up? He distorts to the top of lane, pulls out Ragnarok from Stomaged.
And the 2v1 outplay out of G4, just no fear at all. Burns both summoner spells, gets his man, and he's gonna get first turret as well.
Ridiculous. They may even just give this gold to Lloyd, so that feels really good for him.
Lloyd is the luckiest man in the world. Like, I have never seen a mid laner do that. Every other mid laner in the world goes, go back to your jungle, I'll take the turret in my own time. This is me. But Lloyd just walks in there, one auto attack, and the skirmish potential of this lineup right now, they need to keep pushing this tempo. 2,000 gold in the lead. Continue to look for your plays. It just looks so damn good right now. I mean, you can see that what the idea is. GBM needs a recall, but they don't want the turret to go down. So he goes forward, thinks that he's safe enough, but with the summoner spells, able to pick it up.
Oh my
Stomaged
word.
is like, I have to trade. Otherwise, this turret is falling. And, I mean, sometimes you just got to sit back and think I got outplayed.
Look at that. Cheers from the coach's room for G4, and GBM feels the pressure. Having Stomaged there, they didn't think anything would happen, but G4 is just on the money right now.
And I do want to actually want to play fight.
Rich, he's not feeling too good on the money. Rich going down, and it's going to be a teleport out of the bot lane. We wondered when they would come in, but actually going to be held off for now. That was from base, so Rockky can't get back to lane too fast either.
Yeah, exactly right. Going to have to walk that one out. However, Lloyd, big beneficiary again, just going to leech some more farm for himself. As now G4's here.
He got the shield, didn't want it. G4 backs off once again. 145 to 150 as GBM keeps up, but he's still looking to get something in the kill or assist column.
And this is what I was going to say. GBM doesn't lose the game gracefully, Riff. He is a I will win you the game or I will lose you the game kind of player. We saw it in the best of 5 that they played at the MSI play-ins. Really did get run over in that series. So he needs to start pumping the brakes. He needs to be able to farm up safely. So you're looking at Zeitnot, you're looking at SnowFlower to be able to generate some pressure, be able to draw G4 towards that bottom lane. Because so far mid lane has not been the answer that SuperMassive are looking for.
And it could be tough as well. We talked a little about that wave clear for the side of SuperMassive. As Ascension starts throwing waves in on each lane, it's going to be very hard to push anything back unless you have Zeitnot there. Looks like Rift Herald's going to be tempted, but they just walk this one around. Shelly's going for a long watch down the beach here.
Yeah, exactly. Shelly seems to have a really short fuse at the moment. She just follows you wherever she wants. And once again, we see that SuperMassive, after that turret goes down, willing to flip the map, willing to play towards the top objective. There is going to be a mountain trade coming up, however, which would help the Ascension lineup out. So I don't think they're going to be too worried about this one. It is only going to be an equalized turret. And I think the game right now is just being played on their term, and SuperMassive, you know, with the earlier game carries, probably needs to look to start getting Zeitnot and SnowFlower involved in some 3v3s, 4v4s. So that's probably why they want to swap around this Rift Herald right now and try and force that tempo.
I think you're right. As much as the early game really looked like, because it was 4-0 at one point, no kills onto Ascension. SuperMassive has the gold even by just 1,000. They take this turret and they are right back in it. Stomaged now into G4, and this could be how it happened. G4 is the one to start off the fights, not get the fight started onto him. But Niksar is there with Killer Instinct, and they'll stop this one in its tracks. Stomaged gets the Ignite down, and they may be able to follow through the fight. Kill pressure's gone from G4, and they lose Rich on the side of Ascension support. Going in, that's going to be SnowFlower getting the first tag on. Winter's Bite locks down G4.
And
that's Niksar.
Force from Ascension that probably didn't need to be there. And a fantastic rotation coming in out of fabFabulous. As soon as the Sion train arrived at the station, that team fight turned on its head, and they gave the kill over to GBM. Not the member that you want to get rolling at this stage of the game.
He waited. Patience is key. It's a virtue. And actually, Ascension felt way too powerful for where they were currently in the game. Stomaged now going to take Dragon, so they get a mountain off of this as well. And we'll see G4 just going a little too hard here.
Yeah, exactly right. And he got caught out of position, gets collapsed on. The rest of the team is focusing around that objective. And the big thing is there's no teleport on Sion right now, so they're like, we can fight. But if you get the fight towards the mid lane, you can see how quickly he closes that gap. And he's just occupying, you know, 3 members on the backside of the team fight. And that is just not where Ascension want to be at this stage of the game.
That one fight they were able to activate after G4 made a mistake. Still wants to clear it, says, I need this wave gone. I need to be able to roam, help my team. Already top towards Rift Herald Den. Is a little bit of action once again, and SnowFlower just warding and keeping himself safe from Rich.
And GBM really not concerned about the pace of this game, Riv. He goes back, he gets himself a tier. He's like, I'm happy for this game to go for an eternity. Like, I haven't even started stacking my items yet. This isn't going to be an aggressive 3-item Kassadin. This is going to be, you know, the late game Kassadin that we see come on.
This actually makes me recall hearing GBM in old comms of, we're okay, it's okay, we're okay. Just, he's very, very calm in his demeanor. And I can exactly hear that from him right now in this game, just letting everybody know, not doing too bad, we'll be fine, just like the Zillion game earlier.
Yeah, the old school Scaling caught G4 out a little bit here, will force him back. And one more time, we're just seeing this aggressive farm-heavy style of Lloyd not really bear any result around the skirmishes like it was early game. They haven't been able to catch anyone out. And that means that the gold lead has slowly just been clawed back, and it's back to even now for SuperMassive.
It's crazy.
Seem to be online.
Zeitnot wanting a little fight there, but he gets a quick drink under the table from Rich's barrel, and then nothing coming into the top lane just yet. Slight lead here as Rockky starts to chomp down on minions, becoming a little bit bigger than fabFabulous, but both able to provide that giant tank in fights.
And look at Zeitnot right now. He is a completed item ahead of his counterpart in Niksar. He's also 2 levels above him. I mean, sure, Niksar is a low econ 80 carry, but 2 levels and an item at 21 minutes isn't low econ. That is just irrelevant in the team fight. And this is where SuperMassive can start really putting the screws in. Top lane turret goes down. You can see bottom lane turret, one they prepared earlier, and neither team really has the best wave clear to be able to stop the pushes coming in if they get rolling.
Like looking at the other side too, as we saw Ascension in the lead, if it falls back onto them, as you said, they cannot clear that well, especially if either team has Baron. Just looking at that Zeitnot build, the Maw in there to stop the 3-0-1 G4, to shut down Niksar if he is charged up in these fights on that Rage Blade. Already being able to throw down a little mitigation with your damage has to feel great for Zeitnot.
And he's just trusting SnowFlower to get in between him and Lloyd, because Graves is one of the most unique champions that if you just stand in front of him, he does no damage to the people behind him, you know, with the collateral damage, with the auto attack. So he's really empowering SnowFlower, and the rest of the damage is going to be coming out of the the Ascension lineup right now is purely magic. So I like the adaptation that he's gone for here. The passive is going to provide all really the attack speed that he needs. And this is now Zeitnot's game one more time to be able to win.
Slow going on the bot side. Doesn't look like they're actually going to get anything. As fabFabulous uses his ult to get out. Lloyd was just thinking about something bot side here. Is Ascension now kind of milling about their own jungle?
And they look confused.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good way to put it.
And this is what I was going to say. You know, when they do create the chaos, when they're able to pull you into the fight, they look like they have control of the game. It looks like it's being played on their terms. But when the game started to slow down, much like last game actually, it looks like the superior team fighting team is just making the right decision.
Yeah.
And now that they have, you know, the ease of execution through the Sion ultimate, as well as the stronger AD carry at this stage of the game in Zeitnot, there's no real answer for Ascension to be able to throw at that duo. So they're being kept in lane, they're being kept farming, and now the game becomes whether they can execute on that 5v5, which historically has not been the strength of the Southeast Asian core.
Nope. And this was the question I kind of had for a lot of the teams that came in so strong in their regions is were they challenged in that game or the play style of Ascension to say, hey, we have such early game leads, nobody really challenges up at first Baron, 20, 23, 24 minutes, and you obviously get some inhibitors or second tiers off that. Not the case whatsoever, and the confusion you're talking about is kind of apparent everywhere as they roam looking for a little bit of push here for G4 top.
And the other thing I love to watch is, can you make another team that is also the best at what they do play your style? Because it's one thing to be able to do it in your region. It's one thing to be able to speed up the tempo or look for your team.
Can you Gigabyte Marines them?
Yeah, exactly right. And that's why Gigabyte Marines were so special, because they did that to teams.
Yeah. They could do it to SKT for the beginning of the game until SKT became SKT again. But
yeah, absolutely.
That playstyle is amazing, as you said.
Where does it end? Like, how do the superior teams, you know, the control teams, put a stop to that and say, you know what, no, we're not playing the game on your terms. This is how we like to play League of Legends. This is why we're so successful. And not only against Ascension, but against G2. That is what SuperMassive has done. They've just imposed their will on the game and said the game is going to be played in this way.
Yeah.
And that is very impressive from the TCL team.
It's that good defense is a great offense.
Yeah.
And it's definitely working out for SuperMassive here as they're able to put up a wall and now start to push back. Put a little bit of momentum in their favor. 25 minutes on that clock with Cloud Drake coming up in just 14. SuperMassive now in the lead after a rough early game at 1 point, 4-0 in favor of Ascension, and SuperMassive still respecting the fights.
And you can just see, Ascension are like, just fight us, step forward. Why are you running away? Stop being cowards. And getting my mom's just in top lane saying, you know what, I'll take another turret for myself. Wind Drake, I don't really care about that one. I'm a Kassadin and I hop everywhere. Running doesn't really do anything for me. And that is trading a gold objective on a scaling composition. So, you know, the Drake at this stage of the game. So unless it really comes down to a Baron force, I just don't see SuperMassive really engaging with this Ascension lineup.
And really, the Baron force for either side, who do you give that fight to at this point?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing you would say is that Rocky's secure at level 16 is going to be unrivaled. So at least then, SuperMassive have to come into the pit.
Don't get the 50-50.
Yeah, but then you get the coin flip of the fight as opposed to the steal. So I would be really interested as GBM is about to go back, pick himself up, you know, that Zhonya's hourglass, whether he is yet at the stage or whether I have to wait for level 16 for him to really be able to partake in these 5v5 team fights.
Void Staff quite fast on top of more penetration with the Ord for G4 to say, thanks for buying a Mal Mortius first on Zeitnot. He still wants to kill the squishies. SnowFlower's protecting the heck out of Zeitnot. We've seen Stomaged really trailing GBM.
And I think that was the difference in the early game towards the mid game. They were able to pick off SnowFlower. They caught him out of position. Since he's calmed down, since he's had a little bit more awareness where it is on the map, the game has been much better. Stomaged now might have to burn the ulti. No, not even going to be there.
G4 is doing a great job at these little hits that would change your mind in taking a fight, but it seems like SuperMassive is really doing a great job at acting.
Lloyd might be in some trouble here, Riv.
Ooh, no hit on the Baron. They're not going to activate it. Great blocks by SnowFlower. Glacial Fisher misses. Niksar's over the wall. Still has all of his summoners up. Rocky's going right in the middle of the fight. Puts himself in the frying pan. Stomaged makes it out alive. Rocky's going to get cut down.
And that
shot's
was
going over to
the
GBM.
tankiest member, and they're going to look to continue the fight here.
Quick slow, decimated onto Lloyd. The Q coming out, and a double kill for GBM.
And this is a guy that we said you don't want to give kills to. He is on the scaling mid laner. G4 looking for something.
One time, that's all he can do is the in and the out. The team really doesn't have a lot of follow-up on what G4 is doing either, so it's all realized by SuperMassive. They can kind of position themselves to make sure G4 can't do it more than once. And now he's forced to sit back, so is the rest of Ascension. And a half-health Baron at 28 minutes will fall to SuperMassive.
Yeah, not even going to be a contest coming in there, and we already mentioned that the one way Ascension can force the team fight is around the Baron. well, it looked like they had found a fight, but it certainly was not on their terms. Lloyd just caught out of position, had to burn key ultimates beforehand. And when you teleport into 5 members, I don't care how tanky you are, you will get cut down, and Rockky just did not last long at all. This was always going to be SuperMassive's fight, just because of how it started out, and the ability to chase through on the Kassadin, on the Sion, really did just continue the threat. Oof. And unfortunately for Ascension, the time seems to have run out. You know, that early game snowball that they kicked off is certainly not going to be enough now.
SuperMassive feeling good. Have always been that team you see internationally, but never to the world stage. And here they seem to be quite confident in their play, in their style, and taking it a little longer than that early game aggression. They can really defend anything, and right now they are actually going through every turret that Ascension has on the map for the kills, for the fights, and they're gonna make it out 5 tall and take down second tier mid as well.
Stomaged got the triple kill there somehow. GBM was hopping on everyone, was absolutely popping off on the level 16 Kassadin, and they're just gonna look to end the game.
Absolutely ridiculous. They took a few of the outer turrets, but they said it's all about mid lane now. Once they grab Baron at 27.5 minutes, they are gonna grab the game. More kills being put into their pockets before they get to the Nexus. Shots and fires from Zeitnot and SnowFlower as they look to get the base in favor of SuperMassive, who are now 2-0 in the play-ins.
And this is a scary lineup. Woo! The ability to just play slow, play controlled, and then when the game is on their favor, to just turn it on the flick of a switch and be able to close out a lineup like Ascension is certainly something that other members of the play-ins now needs to be very aware of. SuperMassive has shown up to play.
Absolutely, and here's, I feel, how this continues to be measured is they have that ability. I feel like most teams that go very far in Worlds, the ability to keep their mental in check. This keeps your skill good. The question, though, is can the skill rise with the rest of the teams if they make it out of here? Because I believe their mentality, it gives them the chance to do that.
And that's the difference, right? We saw them play great best of ones at MSI, but then that mentality got tested in the best of 5. Well, today, GBM fell behind. That's not a news story for this team. However, he was able to just weather the storm and stick to the game plan, not force plays until he was level 16. And the ability to take over a map on Kassadin is something that is just so fun to watch, and was able to do that in the last few team fights.
Absolutely. Great plays by SuperMassive. And for more on that victory, let's send it over to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Riva. Now, you always know when there is a Kassadin in the game that you are dealing with a ticking time bomb, and I think this is the context in which we should look at this game, starting from the draft, because you know that this is coming out from the side of SuperMassive. What comp did Ascension craft against it specifically, or did they play more to comfort? I see that Graves for Lloyd, so.
Yeah. OG Graves player. I said he would follow him. He said, you know what, I'm just going to the Graves. If he's going to be a jungle champion, I'm just going to pick him up. So there's a lot of early pressure, obviously, through G4 and Lloyd. I really appreciated that they had so much mid lane control just based off the champions alone. We're going to talk about the faults very soon, but it just never materialized into any vision control.
Yeah, despite having the double marksman comp and a LeBlanc, and you're thinking like, oh, they will have a good team fight later, they'll just never be able to match a split push once the casting gets online, unless the LeBlanc is super duper far ahead, which kind of happened, but didn't come through in the gold lead, despite how some of the early game kills were going in the favor of Ascension.
Yeah, and that was kind of the story of the early game. Ascension managing to get a couple of kills on the board. We'll take a look at some of those, and then you want some extra things. Oh, okay, are they going to take Rift Herald after that? Maybe a couple of towers. Where's the gold lead going to come from? And I guess the issue is that everything slowed down, and SuperMassive made it slow down.
Yeah, they did, but we have to still give praise to the early portion of the game, because Rich is a great, playmaker as a support. Coming from the bottom side and helping out G4 and Lloyd, I thought was really nice. So these are the early kills we were talking about to begin with. That was the reason why Ascension had the lead.
And it really characterizes their playstyle, like very, kill heavy, chasing him all the way to deep in the jungle to get that kill. The thing is, you don't get any turret push off of that. They did end up grabbing the mid lane turret, and eventually LeBlanc was 3-0, but when you look at the gold lead, it was barely over 1,000 because the CS differentials were so bad. I
always find that so difficult to judge, because I'm like, okay, you should be doing something, but in the game, maybe it was made harder for them. Why do you think it is that against this composition or against the way SuperMassive stalled that they couldn't push further?
I think they just defeated themselves. Remember, a lot of it comes down to if LeBlanc has all the gold, where does she need to be? If you can put her on side lane, excellent. If you want to have her mid lane, remember for a good portion of the time, top lane, outer turret was still up and available. You can keep her mid. you just need the control wards topside around the river so you can actually feign topside, and there wouldn't be much of a response from SuperMassive. But the wards were still there, so LeBlanc would go topside, and guess what? The entirety of SuperMassive would be ready. So for them to be in this position and still failing at this level is actually unfortunate.
Yeah, it was the problem with the vision control was actually probably the biggest one, but I also had a problem with some of the builds. Like, I don't understand on Kai'Sa why you would start Ginsu's and then go Stormrazor. You actually don't spike on your Q evolution until completing the 2 items, whereas if you go Stormrazor into Ginsu's, you basically get it as soon as you pick up the pickaxe. So you're slowing down your snowball advantage by going Ginsu's and then going that way, as well as the fact Zeitnot's built like finishing a Maw of the Malmortius second as opposed to just taking the Hex Drinker against the Fed LeBlanc. Like, that's not a very efficient item to completely finish building. So there were some questionable.
There were some odd micro and macro things in this game. I will agree with that. On the other side, we did have SuperMassive. Now, we saw them approaching the first game versus G2 also with a lot of calm and control. And this was exactly the same. And I would argue they even had more tools to do that since they had a Kassadin who you know is going to scale up.
And that's what's really scary, especially since they Ascension pushed through mid lane tower, which means if you extend that far into the red side jungle, it's going to be very punishing with the slows coming through on Kassadin E and the Braum Q ultimate. So there are so much utility on the side of SuperMassive that you do have to be very confident that you're taking the right fights. And there's that one key fight I found in the top side of the map that really paid off for SuperMassive that really nailed it.
I believe this one that we're going to look at is the mid lane fight, but I think that much of the same thing goes is the fact that they were able to turn around. This might be the one you meant, actually.
And this is just a series of fights that are going to come in their favor where people keep living with almost no HP. And usually it's Stomaged of everyone getting out, and people are just not always on the same page. So G4 doesn't find the kill, but now he's in full retreat mode and getting cut off. And a great job by fabFabulous finding a flank to kind of split that fight. And once again, Niksar now is on the front side. And there's rarely a time where their skirmishing prowess converted into team fight prowess, where if you have 3 people trying to kill one person, they're pretty good at that. But as soon as you have to worry about front to back and flanks and stuff like that, it does feel like the communication starts to break down.
Yeah.
And one thing too, it was a very converged space that they were actually fighting in. And Braum and Sion are actually so hard to fight into. So Sion just charges up his Q. The shield as well was actually making it very difficult for Rich to ever separate the pairing. So it was just difficult for them to fight in that area, and they kept forcing it.
And the cards were set up in GBM's favor if he could get to late game, and he's also our MasterCard player of the game. GBM, he's such an interesting character, isn't he? He's been around forever. He has high highs and low lows. Now, in the most recent split of TCL, there have been instances where the team has put more resources into him and kind of given him more agency. But you know, what do you guys think?
He is someone who, as a coach, can be hard to love sometimes because he always has such a unique and different way of approaching the meta, and even when he does end up on meta picks, how to build them and things like that. But he is an undeniable playmaker. He sees angles that other people don't. Kassadin's a great pick for him. Same with his Vladimir, something he's always done so well on. In this game, you know, we're seeing fleet footwork, super sustained focus with Ravenous Hunter, and you're like, is this really necessary when you already have a decent matchup versus LeBlanc?
Well, maybe let me parlay it then in looking ahead, right? Because this is looking much like MSI playing group stage for now. You know, they went undefeated, then they faltered in the best of fives, and much of it had to do with GBM's faltering in those best of fives. What kind of tools are we seeing here from SuperMassive that make you think it may go different this time around if they close this out?
First of all, the experience is incredibly important. Last time in MSI, he lost in the first game, and he just kept losing in the same fashion. I think what was great about this one is that he had a very bad early game, but then he was able to remain firm, actually took a step back near his own inner tower, and then he waited for his team to move first before he take the second step. So this is actually a good growing period for GBM, recognizing that he just has great members on his team that he can rely on.
I think their macro has been really impressive. The first 2 games basically beat G2 completely with that, and then here stabilized mostly by finding good attempts and good vision control to make sure that they stop the bleeding, and that's something you can rely on in the future if GBM can sometimes be a little hit or miss. The fact that you have a stable macro game will help support him.
Just a quick follow-up. Do we want to see a bit more out of them? It's one-dimensional. It's very good, right? But it is still one-dimensional. What if a team comes along in a best of 5 that decides to put the pedal to the metal early, much more than this team?
It's really hard to say because if we talk about one-dimensional play, I would agree with you in that the team composition is very focused on that control mid, team play, team fighting. But then I have no idea what GBM's going to play. He actually plays to what Xerath during the regular season, goes to an Alawi pick. So I feel like he's their X factor.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, if they actually do get the pool pool 1 seed out of the group, then I don't think there's that many pool 2 seeds who can bring it fast enough to stop what we've seen out of their macro game.
Oh, this group has gotten really
weird
interesting.
to think about.
Yes, I mean, in a way, it is good for G2 and Ascension that there's a 2-0 team. Now they just have to beat each other. We'll see. It's interesting here on day 2. We are going to take a quick break, rather. But when we come back, the Direwolves have the daunting task. No trouble. Facing EDG for game 5. The Direwolves are going to come out swinging. You heard it here first.
It's a cakewalk, you know? Just a walk in the park.
No Ragnarok coming through. Level 5 Stomaged. Chain goes out as they make sure he's tunneled into the choke point.
Rich just continually looking aggressive in this play.
Ooh, Ignite down, more hits. The GBM ticking down. Kill pressure's gone from G4, and they lose Rich on the side of Ascension support. Going in, that's going to be SnowFlower getting the first tag on. Winter's Bite locks it down.
They're going to look to continue the fight here.
Quick slow, decimated onto Lloyd. The Q coming out, and a double kill for GBM. Right now, they are actually going through every turret that Ascension has on the map for the kills. SuperMassive now 2-0 in the play-ins. Welcome back to Assist of the Week. During the EULCS regional qualifier match of Schalke 04 and G2 Esports, Schalke was looking to spring an attack. Upset and Vander initiated onto Perks, causing G2 to respond with everyone sparking a full-blown team fight. A fight that quickly started to go in favor of Schalke. Looking to cut their losses, G2 started to pull back. But Amazing was not finished with them and knocked G2 Esports back into Schalke's clutches. This allowed Schalke to score 4 kills and claim victory over G2.
He flashes forward for that one, continues to run him down, needs some support, and Disdain flips him over the shoulder.